As a patriot who wants to bring safety to my country and values the constitutional right to self-defense, I want to emphasize that constitutionally guaranteed rights do not yield to pressure tactics. Everytown for Gun Safety demanded in an open letter last week that Sturm, Ruger and Company immediately stop producing the RXM pistol because it can be easily converted into an illegal machine gun with an aftermarket device. Everytown Support Fund. We're going to the record because I take that claim seriously. The RXM is marketed as a 9mm semi-automatic with a standard 15+1/10+1 capacity, a mag-pull enhanced handgun grip, and 1 round per trigger press. It is also optically ready. Under federal law, a machine gun is a weapon that fires more than one shot automatically by a single function of the trigger, and parts made to cause that are themselves regulated. The Supreme Court underscored this text in Garland v. Cargill 2024, rejecting agency efforts to stretch that definition. So, here's the mission today: separate rhetoric from statute, allegations from evidence, and ask whether a lawful semi-auto is being rebranded by advocacy rather than by law. The Ruger RXM is marketed as a semi-automatic 9mm pistol, meaning it fires 1 round per single trigger pull. It comes optic-ready with modern sighting options and a mag-pull enhanced handgun grip for improved ergonomics. The handgun's capacity varies depending on jurisdiction, with options of 15+1 or 10+1. Essentially, it's designed as a modern, reliable, and controllable everyday carry firearm. Optimized for compatibility with red dot optics. Nothing about the design suggests automatic fire. This is crucial because the accusations surrounding the RXM try to confuse the lawful configuration of the product with what a criminal could potentially do with it. Under federal law, the National Firearms Act (NFA) defines a machine gun as any weapon that fires multiple shots automatically with a single function of the trigger. The law further treats any part or combination of parts designed to convert a firearm to automatic fire as a machine gun in itself. The key distinction here is the trigger function. A semi-automatic firearm requires the trigger to reset after each shot. If it fires continuously with a single trigger pull, then it is a machine gun. This distinction is fundamental and clearly defined by Congress, and it is this line that differentiates lawful semi-automatics from illegal automatics. The Supreme Court clarified this in the 2024 case of Garland v. Cargill, rejecting an attempt to classify a popular accessory as a machine gun. The court emphasized that because the trigger still had to reset for each shot, the firearm did not fire automatically with a single trigger function. The court's ruling reaffirmed that the definitions in criminal law are grounded in precise language and mechanics, not public pressure or executive preferences. Why does this matter? The current effort to label the RXM as easily convertible blurs the distinction between a lawful semi-automatic and the illegal modifications that could be made to it. A semi-automatic does not become a machine gun just because a criminal might install a conversion device, which is already illegal to manufacture, possess, or use. The focus of enforcement should be on those who traffic in conversion devices, not on the lawful firearm itself. This is akin to blaming a factory car for the illegal use of nitrous kits. We punish the illegal modification, not the original product. The idea of convertibility often takes advantage of a truth in the handgun market. Popular platforms, like the RXM, attract both legal and illegal aftermarket parts. Common designs, ample parts availability, and widespread ownership make it more likely for criminals to target those platforms. But this doesn't make the platform defective, it simply makes it common. If popularity alone were to trigger a ban, most semi-automatic pistols would be at risk. The law focuses on function, not popularity or reputation. If someone claims that the RXM is particularly prone to illegal conversion, they should provide solid, reproducible evidence comparative testing against similar pistols, data showing disproportionate crime recovery rates for RXM-specific conversions, and design changes that could address the issue without compromising the firearm's intended use. This is how risks should be assessed, not through letters or alarmist rhetoric. A responsible manufacturer should clearly communicate that the RXM is a semi-automatic pistol, and that using or possessing an illegal conversion device is a serious federal offense. Supporting law enforcement efforts to target the illegal conversion device market, including 3D printing, is reasonable. Additionally, continuing to improve the firearm's design to make illegal tampering more difficult is a valid safety enhancement, not an admission that semi-automatics are potential machine guns. Now that the mechanics and law are clear, we can address the ongoing pressure campaign, who's making the claims, and whether those accusations align with the legal reality. This is where we separate unsubstantiated assertions from actual evidence. The pressure campaign against Ruger RXM started on November 3, 2025, when Everytown for Gun Safety sent a letter to Sturmer Ruger and Company, urging them to stop production and sales of the RXM pistol. Their main claim was that the RXM could be easily converted into a machine gun using an aftermarket device like an autosear. While this sounds concerning, a closer look shows that the claim is based more on speculation than evidence. Everytown's argument is built on the premise that the mere possibility of modification means manufacturers should be held responsible for potential illegal modifications. They suggest that because criminals might exploit a product's design, manufacturers must redesign their products to prevent such risks. This idea, however, overlooks the distinction between lawful firearms and illegal modifications. The letter refers to videos and reports demonstrating how a criminal could theoretically modify the RXM to fire automatically. However, the real question is the RXM inherently dangerous or particularly susceptible to modification? Everytown fails to provide any real-world evidence or crime statistics linking the RXM to illegal conversions. The letter only presents hypothetical scenarios that don't meet the legal criteria for regulating or halting a product's sale. Everytown also connects the RXM to the Glock switch phenomenon, claiming Ruger has an obligation to ensure their pistols can't be modified in the same way as Glock models, which are being converted into automatic firearms at a high rate. This comparison is misleading. Although Glock pistols have been used in illegal conversions, there is no evidence suggesting that RXM pistols are similarly involved. No data supports the claim that RXM pistols are more prone to conversion than other semi-automatic pistols. In fact, Everytown has provided no evidence linking the RXM to any criminal activity or disproportionate use in illegal conversions. The push to halt sales of the RXM based on speculation about its potential for modification is an overreach, questioning whether public pressure is influencing legal decisions instead of relying on solid evidence. The campaign gained momentum when Connecticut's Attorney General, William Tong, joined the call. He sent a letter to Ruger echoing Everytown's concerns, framing the issue as a public safety matter. However, this is an attempt to establish a legal precedent where products could be regulated or recalled not because they are inherently dangerous, but because they could potentially be modified by criminals. This legal pressure isn't a new tactic. The Chicago lawsuit against Glock is a prime example of how municipalities, advocacy groups, and state attorneys general can target manufacturers. Chicago's lawsuit accuses Glock of knowingly selling firearms that are easily converted into machine guns, with over 100 modified Glock pistols recovered by law enforcement. This case highlights the role of public relations and legal threats in pressuring manufacturers to redesign products or settle out of court. The Chicago case serves as a cautionary tale for Ruger and other manufacturers. If successful, it could set a precedent where advocacy groups and government officials use courts to change firearm designs and marketing, bypassing traditional legislative processes. This could have wide-reaching implications for the firearms industry. At the heart of the issue is that these campaigns are driven by hypothetical risks rather than actual evidence. The criminal misuse of firearms, whether through illegal conversions or other means, should be the focus of law enforcement. The redesign of legally compliant firearms based on theoretical concerns sets a dangerous precedent that could infringe on Second Amendment rights and burden manufacturers with unnecessary regulations. In the next section, we'll explore the broader implications of these legal and political pressures on Second Amendment rights. What does it mean when groups use litigation and media to shape regulatory policies? And what challenges do manufacturers face in trying to comply with the law without being overwhelmed by speculative fears? The core allegation against the Ruger RXM is that it is easily converted into a machine gun using an aftermarket device, raising questions about product design, legal definitions, and criminal behavior. To address this, it's essential to distinguish between theoretical risks and actual evidence, testing the claim based on the law's precise definitions. According to federal law, a machine gun is a weapon that fires more than one shot automatically with a single trigger pull. This is crucial, as under the National Firearms Act (NFA), a weapon must already function as a machine gun by design, not just be theoretically convertible. If a firearm does not meet this definition in its standard factory configuration, it cannot be classified as a machine gun. Regardless of potential modifications, the Ruger RXM, as it comes from the factory, is a semi-automatic pistol, firing one shot per trigger pull. The conversion device in question is an aftermarket part, typically an auto-sear, which alters the firearm's operation. The presence of this device doesn't change the RXM's inherent nature. The issue is the illegal conversion device, not the RXM pistol itself. Possession of such a device is a felony under federal law, and enforcement should target the modification, not the firearm. The distinction between a firearm's original design and the illegal modification is key. The RXM's design does not make it a machine gun. It's the illegal device, such as an auto-sear, that transforms it. This distinction is crucial because the allegation that the RXM is easily converted conflates the inherent design with criminal misuse of conversion devices, which are already heavily regulated. If Everytown and its supporters argue that manufacturers should prevent these conversions, they create a dangerous precedent. Should manufacturers be required to redesign their firearms based on potential criminal misuse? Should every firearm with possible conversion be re-engineered? Even if such conversions aren't actually happening, the law does not require this. It targets criminal actions, not lawful products. This argument aligns with Supreme Court precedent in Garland v. Cargill 2024, which reaffirmed that a machine gun is defined by its mechanical function, not its ability to be converted. The court rejected attempts to classify bump stocks as machine guns, emphasizing that the critical factor is whether a single trigger press can cause automatic fire. The same applies to the RXM unless it can fire multiple rounds with one trigger press. It is not a machine gun under the law, even if it could theoretically be modified. The fact that the RXM can be converted does not make it a machine gun. Arguing otherwise would criminalize an entire category of firearms based on potential misuse, which would have significant implications for the Second Amendment and the firearms industry. To substantiate the claim that the RXM is easily convertible, there would need to be crime data showing disproportionate conversions or evidence that the RXM is uniquely vulnerable to such modifications. Testing and comparing the RXM with other semi-automatic pistols could also be helpful. However, every town has not presented such evidence. Without proof of disproportionate misuse or unique susceptibility to conversion, the claim remains hypothetical. In conclusion, the argument that the RXM is easily converted doesn't hold up legally or factually. The firearm itself is not a machine gun. The issue is the illegal conversion device. The focus should be on criminal behavior and illegal devices, not on unsubstantiated claims about lawful firearms. In closing, the Ruger RXM remains a semi-automatic pistol, one shot per trigger pull, and cannot be legally categorized as a machine gun under federal law, unless it is modified with an illegal conversion device. Every Town for Gun Safety's campaign to halt the RXM's production relies on hypothetical misuse, not concrete evidence. No data shows that the RXM is more susceptible to illegal conversion than any other handgun on the market, and no evidence links it to a disproportionate number of crimes. The push to preemptively redesign firearms based on potential abuse sets a dangerous precedent that undermines the principles of due process and the Second Amendment. We must focus on criminal behavior, not on punishing lawful products. If there's a problem, it's with conversion devices, and that's where law enforcement should be directing its efforts. Let's keep the focus where it belongs, on enforcing the law, not redefining it through fear.